You're listening to a special presentation from Night of the Living podcast, Zoned Out, the Twilight Zone Revisited, with Joe and Freddy. Hey, Joe.
Hi, Freddy.
We were talking about Baldur's Gate 3 before we started, and we realized that we couldn't stop talking about Baldur's Gate 3, and we had to put the kibosh on.
We have to put a limit on our digression.
Yeah.
That's just too much.
So we're talking about A World of Difference.
A World of Difference.
Original air date, March 11, 1960.
It's like a weird soap opera episode of The Twilight Zone.
Yeah. This episode inspired The Truman Show, but I don't know that the writers admit that directly, but it's obvious. This is the first of 4 directed by Ted Post. Ted Post is a great director. He's going to come back in season 5 with Probe 7, Over and Out. Of course, people start sending me text messages in the middle of the show again. And I can't mute them. Let's see. Over and Out, Mr. Garrity and the Graves, and The Fear. Those are the episodes we still have to come from him. But the thing he's most well known for is directing Magnum Force, which was the sequel to Dirty Harry.
Oh yeah.
He directed Beneath the Planet of the Apes, which I think is one of the best in the series. And I'm talking for the young people, that's from the 60s, 70s era Planet of the Apes, not the current stuff, obviously.
The original Planet of the Apes.
Yep. And last but not least, Hang 'em High, another just friggin' great movie that I feel like could actually work as kind of a Twilight Zone-y kind of thing itself. One of the weird things he did was the movie The Baby. If you've never seen it, that's a strange little horror movie. And he did lots of TV. He started his career as an usher at the Lowe's Pitkin Theater in Brooklyn, which was this beautiful like theater, and then eventually like it became a church, and then ultimately it became a school. And that was back in 2012. But I just think it shows with a guy who was really grew up in the movies, from like the audience side to the, the theater end to the making the movies. That's somebody who just loves movies, and it really shows.
Yeah, totally immerses themselves in the culture of it and all of that.
And it's perfect for the theme of the episode because it's like a meta episode. This is based on a story by Richard Matheson. This is the 4th episode we've done of 16 that he'll have written. We've already covered And When the Sky Was Open, Third from the Sun, and The Last Flight. Score was by Van Cleve, although some of it was recycled from earlier episodes. And this is for the first time, this is a new cinematographer on the series, Harkness Smith. And I think you can tell. It's real wide open shots, and some of the stuff is framed it's a different style than George Clemens, who usually shoots the episodes. And this is the only time we'll see him shoot an episode of The Twilight Zone. The set for Jerry Reagan's house, it was also in the episode Elegy where Jeremy Wickwire meets the astronauts.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
They landed on the planet where everybody's frozen.
We have a little pop-up storm over here. Just had a little downpour. So we have a cast of 13, including Serling. We have as Arthur Curtis / Jerry Reagan. There's Howard Duff. He was in The Naked City, No Way Out, and Kramer versus Kramer. He was the voice of Sam Spade on the radio. We listen to a lot of those old shows, me and Amy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I love that stuff. Great, like, nighttime, go to sleep stuff.
Yeah.
One of 151 people listed as a communist sympathizer, Howard Duff, in the Red Channels, the report on communist influence in radio and television. You'll find that comes up a lot over the course of The Twilight Zone, that there are people who worked on it that were under scrutiny from, like, Congress and stuff.
Oh, sure. It's right that they're heading it in the, what do they call that? The
Big Red Scare.
The Hollywood blacklist and all that. Yeah.
Now, as Brinkley, this is Jerry's agent, is David White, who I think is just great. I know him from Bewitched, watching Bewitched reruns as a kid. You too.
Totally.
Larry Tate. He was also in Brewster's Millions, which is a great 80s comedy, and The Apartment with Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine. I think that's right. He'll return in season 3, icing the body electric, which is a Bradbury episode. He was a Marine in World War II. He's just a striking looking person.
He's a very unique looking fella. And I by the way, I'm going to clarify just in case everybody's confused. It's I sing the body electric. I used to always think it was icing the body electric, and I was like, what a bizarre phrase.
Like as in putting frosting on your
right. Well, you know, the body electric. Let's get some icing on that body electric. Ooh.
You're a real treat. Then we have Jerry's director, Marty Fisher, played by Frank Maxwell, who was Mr. Majestic, or in Mr. Majestic, The Wild Angels, The Haunted Palace, which is a great Vincent Price movie that I just saw for the first time this year. It's streaming, I think, on Tubi and stuff, but The Haunted Palace is fantastic. Also, lots of TV. He was blacklisted during the McCarthy era. And he basically, during that, he was working like summer stock theater as an actor, you know, and getting by on that.
What is, not to digress, what is summer stock theater?
It's kind of like some people would call it community theater, I guess, if that makes sense. It's professional, but it's also kind of like Bush League. Not insulted or anything, but that's it. It's like, it's semi-pro is like another thing. That's the way I've always understood it.
Oh, so it's kind of like that. It's like how sometimes, stand-up comedians will go back to their roots to kind of build up their chops a little bit, like practice a little bit over the summer, that sort of thing. Or
yeah, I think that's kind of the idea. Is that at least in his case, and Frank Maxwell's case, it was just a way probably to keep his skill set while he was on the blacklist. He by 1958 he was back to working, and people would employ him. I don't know what changed, but it did. Jerry's estranged wife. This is Nora Reagan as the character, played by Eileen Ryan, who I didn't know until I watched this is Sean and Chris Penn's mom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Leo Penn is their father. But the reason it just didn't click with me is Eileen Ryan's filmography is really wild too. It's like she was in Feast, if you remember that.
Yeah, that whole
Project Greenlight.
I never watched it, but I remember that Project Greenlight thing. Yeah,
it's really fun. Watching Project Greenlight and then watching Feast when you're done is a great viewing experience. To see how a movie was made and all the crazy shit that went into that. But she was also in Parenthood, the movie Parenthood with Steve Martin and.
Oh, the remake, wasn't it a remake? Parenthood.
That's Father of the Bride that you're thinking of. I think.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, Parenthood was like an original that then became a TV series more recently.
Gotcha.
She was in Eight-Legged Freaks, the giant spider movie.
Oh God, with Arquette, David Arquette.
Yeah, David Arquette. And she was in Magnolia. And she has a connection to Amy Ryan. One of her kids was married to Amy Ryan, I think. I'm not sure.
Interesting.
Did I say Amy Ryan? I meant Amy Mann.
Amy Ryan.
Amy Mann.
I was going to say.
The musician.
I was like, Amy Ryan. Who's Amy Ryan?
So in the movie Magnolia, Amy Mann has some songs that are performed by the cast and everything. But it's
doesn't she it kind of links everything together at some point?
Yeah.
I have to see that movie.
Oh, you've never seen it?
No, I know. I've heard about Tom Cruise in it and all this other stuff, but like, but apparently some people really love it. Some people hate it.
I loved it, man. It really moved me a lot. And I laughed a lot. It was really funny, in a real dark way. But anyways,
okay.
That's Eileen Ryan, who is Jerry's estranged wife. And then we have, Kelly is like a PA or whatever character, kind of the younger
personal
guy.
assistant. Yeah. It's an old term. It's secretary type.
Yeah. He says, this is Bill Idelson. Now he's not known as an actor. He actually, though, he wrote, on Get Smart, Love American Style, The Andy Griffith Show. And he even wrote with Charles Beaumont the script for Long Distance Call, which is a great episode we're going to cover in the future.
Nice.
Then last I have details on is Arthur Curtis's secretary. She fine, Sally, Gail Kobe.
Oh, that's who I was thinking of. I was thinking of The actual secretary, not the PA production assistant, is what you meant, not personal assistant.
Yeah, Kelly was
Got
the
it. Got it.
guy who was like on the set and who was like
Gotcha.
scrambling for the director, that younger
Right.
guy. But yeah, Sally is the secretary, or the fictional, no, the real life character's secretary. Correct?
Uh,
I got confused. What's
wait,
reality all of a
no.
sudden
Sally. I think Sally is the character's secretary.
in the movie or
Yeah, it's the
TV show?
character's
Yeah.
secretary, and I think she's otherwise just an actress. Not just an actress, but
Okay.
I think she's otherwise an actress. Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, I forgot exactly where she landed in reality or in the movie
Right.
within reality.
It's some of the stuff is not doesn't. I mean, it's fairly cut and dried, but it's like there's some interesting little blips. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she was also in His Image and the Self Improvement of Salvador Ross. Those are episodes that we'll cover in the future. Yeah. So Joe, do you want to synopsize what?
Sure. So it starts off, and we are in kind of a coming into an office space, and the intro voiceover goes, "You're looking at a tableau of reality, things of substance, of physical material, a desk, a window, a light. These things exist and have dimension. Now this is Arthur Curtis, age 36, who is also real. He is flesh and blood, muscle and mind. But in just a moment, we will see how thin a line separates that which we assume to be real with the manufactured inside the mind." And I was like, okay, I don't remember this episode. And so what it is starts at the beginning. Arthur Curtis is clearly a businessman coming in. He's planning a vacation. He's talking to his secretary, who's Sally. And, they're planning a weekend getaway. And so Arthur goes into his office, and he's, setting this thing. His office is huge. I was watching just the beginning of this with my girlfriend, and she's like, "How many ashtrays are in that office?"
The
And
authenticity.
there was one shot where there was like 3 ashtrays, like every surface had an ashtray, which I guess, back then it was when you had a fancier place, you didn't want to get any ash anywhere, so you'd have them everywhere.
Good eye, Megan.
Yeah, no doubt. So he's going to make a phone call, and he moves over to his desk and picks up the phone, and he's tap, tap, tap. And he's like, "Huh." And you can see it's for some reason not working. And he goes, "Oh, for Pete's sake," or something like that. Stands up and starts to walk out, and you hear cut. And he freezes from behind him. You get the shot from behind him, and he turns around. And as he turns around, the camera turns around with him, and you see there's a whole crew of people as if this is being filmed, which is always fun to me because you realize there's dual layers of this, right? When you're seeing as him that there's a camera crew filming, there's a camera crew filming the camera crew filming. It's just one of those like Inception
weird,
things.
right?
And yeah, right. So he's just staring like, what the hell? And it's funny because this goes on for quite a while. Like the first, I want to say, I don't know, 6-7 minutes of this is all him just kind of staring blankly, like what is going. Like his mind is reeling from all of this.
Joe, you made me think when you were talking about the cut, and that you're watching a camera crew being filmed by a camera crew.
Yeah,
I'd be curious to know. Nothing I need to look up right now or anything, but I want to know how deep people have gone with that. How many cut. How many, like what the world record is for fake out. Cuts. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, and then they had to, I'm imagining, yell cut at some point for the episode. So the cut, real cut, what do they have, a code word or something?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Then I film you watching the episode, and then I yell cut, and you're not really
and there's behind
watching
the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just layer all those in. So, so Arthur Curtis is like, what is going on? And the director walks up to him and is like, you can't just make a phone call. You got to just fake a phone call, Jerry. And he's like, Jerry, he's really confused, as is the audience, assumably. and they start talking to him about, hey, you know, this is a problem. You got to get with it. You got to kind of connect up with what's going on here. And everybody assumes that he's just kind of either tripped up himself or he's drunk again or something like that. Like there's some insinuation that he's a bit of a drinker and has his career's kind of on the downslide. But they kind of cut for lunch, and Arthur, the character, is very confused because everyone keeps calling him Jerry Reagan. And as he goes around, he's trying to like figure out how to like where is his wife, why is everything so strange. And at first I was like, this is just, it's taking forever for them to get through this part. But again, when I stop for a moment on like a second viewing and thinking through it again, I'm like, yeah, but what would you do if you were in that spot, right? If your brain is like, what is happening? Things are not syncing up. If you're not knowing this is a Twilight Zone episode, you kind of freeze, right? I mean, a lot of people, you know, you get the fear response. There's flee, fear. Wait, no, I'm missing my
Fight or flight.
Fight, flight, freeze, and then there's like 3 other things that I've heard people list.
Dookie your pants. Become
Frolic. I don't know.
Become an unappealing meal.
These are all excellent options to react in fear. So he's flipping out, and so he's looking for a phone, and everybody's like, "Would you knock it off? Like, you don't have to keep proving that you're this guy."
So method.
And yeah, he's so deep in his character, which I wonder what it was like to be on set with some of those people who did that. You know, like
we'll be dealing with one of those next week. But he doesn't have a bad reputation for it. Kevin McCarthy was a method actor and kind of
really?
He was part of. He'll be in next week's episode, but he was part of like the Actors Studio and all that stuff.
Oh, interesting.
I think, yeah, Actors Studio.
Interesting. Anyway.
You think of Jared Leto before?
Yeah, I was going to say Jared Leto. Oh man. Okay, I don't know. I might alienate some people. I haven't seen a lot of his roles, but man, does he annoy me. I can't.
You're not alone.
It's something about his personality. Like, I don't know. The whole, I don't know. I'm not going to go into it. It's not important. Not worth putting on the universe. So here we go. He goes to find a phone, calls an operator. He can't remember his phone number, but he can remember his address, and he's trying to call his home. And as he's trying to call his home, everybody's kind of walking off set, all these people. And he's arguing with the operator, like, of course there's a phone there. No, it's not unlisted, you know. And you just basically see him try and navigate through this space where he's like trying to connect his character to the outside world, and it's not working. So we think maybe he's having a mental break or something. Everyone else thinks he's faking mental illness because he's trying to avoid some responsibilities. He is like, I gotta go home, and they're like, you're nuts. Like, you need some help. And he runs outside and almost gets run over by a car who is driven by his ex-wife, Nora.
That's Sean Penn's mom again.
And she has a very distinctive face. She's got like, you know, that whole very, I don't know, like sharp features.
Yeah.
And she's so mad at him. He must have been a real terrible dude because, or whatever, their relationship. Of course, they did the 1950s, 1960s reference to her as a harpy later.
That's struck me too. And it wasn't even like a mean character that was saying it. It was one of the nicer characters.
Yeah, it was Brinkley, the David White character, the guy from Bewitched. Anyway, so he almost gets hit by her, and then she's like, give me my money, you owe me. And he's like, I don't even know you. And she's like, oh, nice, you know, try and pretend that you're not. So again, I wonder what this guy was like in reality. But
well, he didn't pay his alimony for one.
Right,
You
right.
know?
Didn't pay his alimony and did not, apparently has been skirting around his responsibilities for quite a while. So he, he gets around the other side of the car that she's driven up in. Oh, another thing that I really noticed distinctively, which I love this detail, but I don't know, um, I don't know why it struck me. She's wearing gloves. She's wearing driving gloves.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was to, protect her hands or what, but
It was sexier though that way, wasn't
it sure was, man. Leather driving gloves. I was like,
it? In that sexy
she,
slinky dress she was wearing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, clearly she's a woman who knows how to like, uh, um, dress to
Impress.
impress.
Yeah.
Impress. There you go.
The car was sexy too. Everything
Oh
about it.
man, all that this episode was full of car porn. If
Yeah.
you're a car person, I'm not a big car person, but I even could watch this and go, "Oh man,
Yeah.
look at that!" Just cars just look so much cooler then. Not that they don't look cool now, but man, when they
More
had like
personality
fins,
then. Yeah.
they're like 12 feet wide and 16 feet long. And
Solid
anyway,
steel.
yeah. So as she's talking to Brinkley, the David White character, I think no, it's not the David White character. It's another guy. It's the director,
Yeah, the Marty.
and he has come out following after them. He like walks around to the driver's side and just steals this car, and she's like, "Okay, well, I'm getting in too." So she gets in, and she's like, "All right, I'll play along with you, but you're going to give me my money." So, and then she says that she'll have him back by the afternoon shoot, I believe. And so they leave, and it goes back inside, and there's a person making a phone call, one of the characters, to someone else, basically saying, "Yeah, he's acting real weird. He's acting like the character in the script."
And that's the reveal. Although you and I, in today's time watching it, you already have figured that out. But in
Yeah.
1960, again, as we say with a lot of these episodes, this is the first time a lot of audiences are seeing the concept of it.
Right, right. So if the reveal seems super obvious to you, just realize it was a simpler time.
Yeah.
They didn't have the twist endings that we're all familiar with. And you know why we're familiar with them? Because of this show.
Yeah. You can
Pretty
thank
awesome.
O. Henry in the Twilight Zone.
So, commercial break, comes back, and they are driving around. And she's like, "Whenever we're finished with the grand tour, you let me know," or whatever that is. And because they're driving around and he clearly cannot find his quote unquote house. And so he stops at a house and he's just kind of going to go. And she's like, "Yeah, go ask for directions. Go ask where your fantasy, house you live on street is."
She wants to see it all play out. So she's about to be like, "You motherfucker."
Yeah.
Pardon my French,
wait,
but that's the whole vibe.
to get the end of it where she's like, "Are you done? Are you done?" And he gets out and about to go up to a door and he hears a little voice or something, and he looks over
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh," and he thinks I think it's his daughter.
Yeah, Tina, I guess. He yells like, "Tina!"
Yeah, Tina. And he comes over and he just grabs her, and she's like,
This is when,
spins around.
his ex, Nora, this is when she realizes he's not playing anymore. That
Yeah.
something's wrong with him.
There's a look on her face like, "What is wrong with you?" And so she's like, and the girl runs away, and he's like, "What? Oh, that wasn't my daughter." And she's like, "Get in the car." And he's like, and she's like, unless you want to get, arrested for assault, get in the car." And she's, you think about it, she's actually kind of defending him
Yeah.
to her own ends, but, she's like, "You idiot, get in the car." So sure enough, he does. They arrive home. He's still befuddled, like, "Where are we?" And she's like, "We're at our house, you dumbass," And he's still not getting it. Still not. And it gets kind of like laborious. Like, I get it why the character's doing it, but like, I think as a watcher, you're like, "Come on, dude, you're in the Twilight Zone, okay?"
You didn't hear the theme, man.
But again, from his perspective, like, what he still doesn't
Yeah.
get what's going on. So they go inside the house, and she's like, "I'm gonna find your checkbook, and you're gonna write me a check, motherfucker." She's very very insistent. And sometime around there, Brinkley is there, and he says, "Hey, you know what? I told him I'll tell them you're sick today. I'll make it stick somehow." He's like, "But if you can't come in tomorrow, we're gonna have to drop you." And he's like, "I'm not Reagan. You don't understand." And he goes to try and make a phone call again to call his workplace, and his they're like, "That doesn't exist." And he's like, "Of course it does." He does this kind of exasperated yell. But then this is where, like, this is one of those moments where you're like, okay, that was, you can tell the difference between when they're in the character and when they're acting the character, it feels like. Because he does that moment where he's like super exasperated, and then he just kind of stops, and the operator's hung up on him, and he kind of slowly brings the phone down and looks over at the people around him as if he's kind of accepting it, but not really. And so I think they jumped to another commercial break or something about that. Anyway, the guy Brinkley comes over and shows him a shooting script for everything he's doing and starts reading from it. He's like, "So and so, Arthur Curtis is a successful businessman with his wife and daughter and blah blah blah." And he's like, "Stop it!" He gets really upset, and I think at some point in there he takes he lays down or passes out or something. Can't remember what happens.
Yeah,
That
me
he's laying
neither.
on the bed. Yeah. And anyway, he gets up and he runs back to the set. He's like, "I gotta." He said, "There." Oh no, what he said? He said, "Hey, are you feeling better?" And he's like, "No." And he's like, "You don't believe me." And so uh, he said, "Well, you don't have to worry about it anymore. They're canceling the show. Arthur Curtis is dead." Dun dun dun.
Oh my
They
god.
they dropped the script into the garbage. This is the Brinkley character, and so Arthur Curtis is like, he's like, "What about my home? What about my office?" And he's like, "They're probably dismantling the set right now." Keeps to it. He's like, "They can't do that." So he runs out, and Jerry Arthur does. He runs out and gets in a car. Apparently steals Brinkley's car because that's the only car we can see, and drives to the studio. And they're taking it apart. And he
Great
run.
sequence of the drive is really
Yeah.
shot. Like this is
Oh,
where you
that's
can
right.
really
That's
see.
right.
Yeah.
That stood out. Yeah. So it's first person, and they're driving and kind of weaving between the cars. And it really is. I mean, you can see they're a great job of weaving and all that. I wonder if they had to have set that up, right? I mean, of all the
Oh,
cars and
sure.
weaving around them and stuff,
Yeah. It's just grand. It feels big. Like there's moments in this episode that feel really cinematic, and that was one of them.
which is funny because, again, you get into that Inception level of stuff and you're like, oh, well, this is a movie of
Yeah.
a TV show of a movie. And in a movie, you'd have a big dramatic driving scene. And,
They do that on the
you know,
studio, that sitcom that's on Apple TV with Seth Rogen.
oh,
It's about the movie business, but the episodes are shot in the style of whatever movie they're doing. You
oh,
know,
that's
it's
interesting.
fun.
Oh, I want to harken back to something, and not for any purpose other than to point it out. At the very beginning, you see this, and it's filmed in a way, it's got that kind of film feel to it, the look. But there is a moment after they yell cut where the film look changes, and it got a whole lot sharper. And I wonder if they switched to from 24 frames to 30 frames per second
Oh,
or something
maybe.
like that, because the clarity of what they were filming got really, really sharp, and it seemed distinct from the previous one. So I wonder if they're trying to show a difference between reality and the film or the movie there as well. So
Good catch.
that just stood out to me. Okay, so he's rushing back to the set, weaving through cars, and you can see actually when he gets to the last car on the road, they're like, "Oh, now we're done," because there's no more cars in front of him. And he pulls up and he runs in, and they're like, "Hey, are they still taking the set apart?" And they're like, "Yeah, back over there." And he runs in there, and he gets to the desk and sits down at his old office desk, and there's no pictures in the frame. And he's like broken and devastated, and he turns around in his chair, and you see him kind of lean down and hide his head, and he's like, "Take me back there, take me back there." And he turns back around and there's photos in the frame. And he's like, what? And he goes and looks out the window because there's a window again. It's not just a blocked off wall where they were filming from. And all of a sudden, Marion, his wife, is there. And she's like, honey. And he's like, darling. And he embraces her. And she's like, what is going on? And he's like, we're going to go. We're going to go on vacation. I never want to lose you. Let's go on vacation right now. And it's not his ex-wife. This is his character's wife. And so they rush out into the entryway, and his secretary, Sally, is there. And she's like, hey, I got those tickets for you. So everything's gone back to the way it was at the very beginning of the episode. And he's like, let's get out of here. And Marion's like, why? Why are we so urgent? And you see him pause and look off for a moment, and he can hear the people in the distance say, finish striking the set. And he's like, we got to go right now. So he takes off. And sure enough, like the next scene, we see Brinkley showing up to the teardown, and he's asking about where Jerry is, and they don't know, but they saw him a few minutes ago, and check his dressing room and all that, and nobody can find him. And the next scene is a jet taking off, so we get to assume that Jerry is now actually Arthur Curtis in the Arthur Curtis world, and is taken off for some beautiful vacation. And at the very end of the episode, it shows us the shooting script of the private life of Arthur Curtis. And the voiceover kicks in and says...
Oh, I just want to point out, too, when you see that was one of the moments I really enjoyed the way it was shot, was the shadows. There's a stack of books on the table, and the screenplay is on the bottom, kind of. And there's the shadow. It frames up the title of the screenplay in a really neat way, where it's kind of like almost Hitchcocky, like with these weird angles of the shadow outlining it. I don't know. It struck me as a really cool shot too.
A very that stands out as a very interesting shot. And the voiceover is, the modus operandi for the departure from life is usually a pine box of such and such dimensions. And this is the ultimate in reality. But there are other ways for a man to exit from life. Take the case of Arthur Curtis, age 36. His departure was along a highway with an exit sign that reads, this way to escape. Arthur Curtis, en route to the Twilight Zone.
Nice.
Do-do-do-do.
So this is a theme that they'll return to several times throughout the series, of alternate lives, kind of grass is greener on the other side stories.
Yeah.
Where somebody gets a chance to live an alternate life. But
well, what was the 16 millimeter shrine was the other one where she disappeared into the fantasy world.
Yeah. We'll talk about in the future. Last Stop at Willoughby, I think is the name of the episode, where a high stress executive takes this train ride and then gets to visit this quaint town.
Nice.
It's this mysterious magical stop. But next week, we'll be talking about Long Live Walter Jameson with, I mentioned before, Kevin McCarthy.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, also another, I think this is the first time they're dealing with this theme of like eternal life.
It's spooky.
Yeah. So you know what would have been real funny in the world of difference this week's episode, or fun, is what if he like signed on, he's like, this is my new life, but he didn't read ahead in the screenplay, and it's like his life becomes a gross out comedy or a horror movie or something. That'd be fun.
Or like or like at the end of the script, like if the wind blew and flipped it over and died in a plane crash heading on vacation.
Oh no.
Dun dun dun.
It's a MASH finale all over again.
At least he's died happy, right?
All right. So we'll be back in 1 week with that. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about A World of Difference?
No. I initially was not that impressed. In retrospect, I'm a little more impressed. And we'll leave it at that.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.